And now it's Deborah Kobylt Live in the Little Italy podcast.
Hi, everyone. Thank you today for joining me on our Little Italy podcast and Deborah Kobylt Live. And with me is Valentina Castellani Quinn. She's a dear friend. She's an award-winning producer, writer, artist, absolutely magnificent. Worked is behind over a dozen films. Valentina's born in Florence. She's been working between Italy and here in Los Angeles for over 2 decades. And she's also my friend. And
Deborah.
Valentina lost her home in Malibu on January 7th. And I will never forget that call when you called me, because I was checking in on you and I said, how did you do? I almost hate to ask you to recreate that moment or just think about it again, because we're trying to get into recovery mode. But if you want to back it up for our viewers, please. And thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Deborah, definitely. And you know, obviously we are in recovery and we are in the middle of this mess, let's call it for what it is right now. Yes, by January 7, our house burned down. We got the firemen knocking at our door at midnight. And keep in mind, I mean, this fire didn't seem so close to Malibu where we lived. So it actually wasn't that scary in our opinion. And I survived about 5 fires by now in my 25 years in the United States, in Malibu. And so, yes, we put some stuff in the car, but it seemed so far away compared to other fires. Even 3 weeks before then, there was a fire in Malibu that destroyed about 15 houses and was way closer. So by midnight, the firemen came at our door and we had 10 minutes in the dark. There was no electricity anymore to put what was needed, you know, the passport, the computer, the cell phone, and we had to run. And we found shelter in a restaurant, Olo, in Malibu. That was the only place that still had electricity and internet to keep connected and know what was going on. And so it served as a shelter for the community because we couldn't escape via PCH. It was all burning. So we stayed in this restaurant shelter for about 2 days. By the second day, you know, we went to see the house. Although it was still burning PCH, they let us in, and the house was burned to the ground. There was a fire truck in front with a tiny bit of water, and unfortunately, he said, "I'm so sorry, we didn't have enough water to put down this fire." And so it's beyond devastating. It's very difficult to communicate, you know, the feeling, the emotion in front of what was your life. It's not the house, the 4 wall, but it's your home where you know, it's kind of the recipient of your emotions, your history, your goals, your achievements, as well as your failures, but it's still kind of the recipient of what you call your life, your family. So to see a big black hole instead of your house is devastating, to say the least. I was with my daughter and she was in tears on her knees. And then we had to run away anyway because it was still on fire, the whole street. And the rest is, you know, putting one foot in front of the other and trying to figure it out logically, practically, keeping away any emotions. What is that you're going to do? How do you move from here? So we started all those practices, as thousands of people right now in LA, to, you know, documents and fill up forms and go into recovery offices and to city councils and all of these organizations that have been very helpful, definitely, to kind of put together a possible plan.
Mm. You know, it's interesting because if one were to go on your Instagram, right, you still remain hopeful. The artist in you is always there. And as you're driving through the canyon, going into Malibu once again, because I know that you're staying with friends outside of Malibu, but you come in throughout the day when you can, if you can, and somehow you see the light as you're driving through the canyon. And by that, I mean, you see it mentally and you see it physically, knowing that it's almost artistry the way you've approached this. And I like the fact that you say you work very hard to keep your emotion out of it, because that can really take you down. And instead, I notice you're trying very, very hard and succeeding at looking at the beauty while moving ahead, knowing that there is a lot ahead, right?
There is a lot ahead, absolutely, and I definitely can envision it, even if it takes time, it takes
Yeah.
an enormous amount of energy, but it obliged all of us to look at life in a different way. I know about loss because of the death of my late husband, but this is a different kind of loss, and it needs to be relearned in his own way. And yes, it occurred to me yesterday. I was on Mulholland because still PCH was closed, so we have to tour around all the areas to navigate from an office to another to try to put together the pieces of our life. And it did occur to me that yes, as we take these country roads, that are not our regular path where we navigate through the day, we look at a different perspective of what's around us. And in the same way, spiritually, we are obliged to do the same. And it's a good process as well. If we must find some positivity throughout this journey, and I think that is a good perspective to look at life, to look at it in a different way, and understand how much value we have inside rather than our possessions.
You come from, if you will, Hollywood royalty, if you will, your late husband, and even your family in Florence. It surrounds you. How has this really affected, in your opinion, what's happening in the entire Hollywood community? And by that, I'm not talking about people and their estates. I'm talking about working people who are working on productions, who lost their homes and may not be able to get to work. Let's talk about how this is affecting the Hollywood community and how they can begin to even recover from that.
Very much true, Deborah, and thank you for bringing it up, because a lot of people think that just the beautiful villas of the celebrity have been burned. But here there are entire community, including in Malibu and Palisades, of students and family and kids and people that works around these facilities and little businesses, tiny little shops, and on, that lived and got everything destroyed, their houses and their businesses. So let's understand that this is about an entire city and its own community, and not just a certain small elite of people. And in terms of Hollywood, which is the primary industry of this town, is very much broken, for sure.
Yeah.
Not just because some celebrities lost the house. And by the way, I have to say that celebrities have been magnificent throughout this process, putting their own public figure in, trying to support, raise awareness, raising fundings, but also in a million way. There is not enough emphasis on how much the Hollywood royalty, so-called, is being humble and helpful in this track. That I must say. And of course, the industry is very much slowed down. Any production that is in pre-production stage is on hold right now. You know about the Oscars. Yes, half of the city says no, half of the city, of course, says yes, it should go on. I personally think it should be done, the Oscar ceremony. It's important that we keep on working, and also it's important to honor those amazing films that these are nominated, and there are some amazing films in there. I was working on the Academy Award campaign for the Italian film at the Oscar, which is Vermiglio. And Maura Del Pero, the director, had to flew out of town, so there is a lot of turmoil around, what's going on. But it's important that the Academy Award does his work and honor these filmmakers, especially in such a time. I think as artists, we are the carrier of the universal voice in terms of creativity. And here we have an opportunity to rise our voices and our thoughts, and also the spirit of positivity that can keep creating.
And remember, everybody, we all love to see a film. We all love our favorite show that we stream. It gets us out of our everyday and absorbing sort of a story that, maybe we can't live, or maybe we could see ourselves living through the eyes of. It's important. And I do think sometimes Hollywood gets a super bad rap, but it is the folks who are working behind the scenes. That's what makes a project. It's all those people. And even let's say we did the Oscars and people showed up looking beautiful. I thought about that. I really thought about that. Is that appropriate? Maybe it is, because those are people who worked on those dresses and gowns. There's lots and lots of people who work in this industry to make it, beautiful for the rest of us. I have no answer, but I do hope for those people who are displaced with their work that the show can go on when it's appropriate.
Yes,
right.
I think very, very important. Yes, and also to raise the spirit of creativity, because in this moment, as you know, Deborah, there are a lot of discrepancy and politics and questions that don't find an answer, and there is a lot of anger because 20,000 people lost their home in this city that is big as much as Tuscany in Italy. I don't think that people realize how big is this town of Los Angeles and all his different districts. So, rather than having politics and manipulation and all that we saw, let's have artistry win. Let's have creativity win. And I think the Academy Award ceremony is a beautiful opportunity for all the artists and the people that are behind the camera. Let's remember that there are about 500 people minimum behind each film. So all these people have been working to get to this goal. They are keep on working, and it's important to acknowledge that, I think.
Let's talk about you and how, what's it like your day to day, right? I know that you're applying for places to live with everyone else. What are you filling out in terms of insurance forms? How are you finding it? How are you even knowing what to do? Like, can you walk us through very briefly some of the steps that you're having to take to get what you need?
Very difficult, first of all, because no matter how many times you witness, it's the first time for myself to do it. So one of the best initiatives that the city had is to create these recovery centers, so-called, that are in certain universities, like the Palisades and Malibu district has it at UCLA, where all the insurance company and FEMA, all the recovery organizations and some charities and some grant organizations as well are there represented and can guide you in doing the steps. Nevertheless, you spend your days filling up forms and listing everything you've lost. And of course, insurance will not be able to pay all of this. Actually, in many cases, they will not pay because there is no way around it. There is too many people that lost the house and lost their belonging, and too much to rebuild. But at least there are people that navigate you through this. Also, we all lost all our documents, from our kids' birth certificates, all those kind of documents that then you need or they will need in their life. And so we have to redo all those documents as well. So my day
Wow.
really, you know, waking up and navigate through these offices and filling up forms in order to move forward and you know, receive at least some part of fundings to rebuild from the government. And then the rest of the day is spent in finding a home. Because of course, you know, with 20,000 people having lost their home, to find a house for rent available, it's almost like a miracle. The houses that are available are in much less number than the demand right now in Los Angeles. So each house or apartment has at least 20 to 30 applications.
Right.
And therefore, there is a lot of speculation from either the landlords or the fact that can raise the price in order to hopefully get the house. So it's quite chaotic and very distressful. You know, we put, I think, about 10 applications to 10 different places, and in hope that one of them will take it, no matter the great credit, no matter the great referrals and everything. You know, it's a long and tedious process.
How's your daughter doing? She's just starting out in her career in the music business. A lovely girl, Sophia. Really, raised a beautiful young lady. How's she dealing with all this? That's such trauma, and hard for you to watch her go through this, let alone you going through this as a businesswoman who runs her own business.
Yeah, it's very hard. She's been very courageous, but I noticed, you know, that she was having the nightmare of the fire each night. She kept all the few belongings that she collected before to leave the house. She wants to keep it in the car with the fear that even the house where we're staying here, that friends
Wow.
possibly take fire, you know. So it's a process of trust that needs to be rebuilt. And it's not easy to see, you know, this in a child, you know, in your daughter. She lost all her equipment. She's a music engineer, and she had great equipment. She's also recording as a singer, and so now she has to rebuy everything, you know. Music equipment gets up to $40,000 to replace. So it's a lot of turmoil. Her office colleagues, her friends built up a GoFundMe, and that was very kind of them. And throughout, you know, the process of the GoFundMe, I saw a lot of friends and people that I've seen maybe 6 years ago, 10 years ago, that suddenly pop up. Valentina, I saw what happened. Sophia, you know, my daughter, I saw what happened. Here it's $5, $10, whatever. And it was very, very warming to see that, you know.
Can you give us that GoFundMe page? What is it? What's the name?
It was a process for me to accept it, because we all feel very embarrassed, right, at first. And I see everybody in the same condition, you know. I mean, it's like, no, I don't want, I feel very vulnerable to feel this way where I'm asking or something. And if it was for me, I wouldn't have done it just out of that, you know. But I'm grateful that actually it is the kids that did it and said, no, you should accept help right now, because
Yes.
the insurance will never repay you, you know, and the whole thing. So we do have a GoFundMe link. I'll give it to you, Deborah. But the most beautiful thing was to really see how many people cared and reached out.
Including your family in Italy. I know my family in Italy, they were terrified for us. We're the lucky ones. Our house is okay. And we were in the 1 block from mandatory evacuation. We were in, it was touch and go. And we're the lucky ones. and they were reaching out. I'm sure your family was terrified over in Italy watching what was happening, weren't they?
Very terrified. They saw all the footage, and I was also serving as one of the correspondents for RAI. I collaborated with the network before, and therefore, as soon as they found out, they contacted me. So they saw it directly, you know. And I try to filter the news to my parents, my family, because
Yeah,
it is so catastrophic. It's so devastating for our parents. And also keep in mind, we are used to this fire, but the rest
right.
of the world in Europe, it's an unheard situation. They can't even conceive. How come you can't stop the fire? I mean, what does it mean? You know,
Yeah.
in these kind of situations, you know, so very, very devastating for them to see us in this condition. And what can we say? You know, I always tell them, as soon as I get things more going, then I'll come and visit, you know, and reassure you that we are okay and we're just going through it, you know, like other thousands of people. You know, I go to this recovery center and I meet all my friends and my community, you know, school friends of Sophia and co-workers, and neighbors, and on, you know, no matter the walk of life, or the work they do. Yeah.
Valentina, you're an amazing woman. I love you dearly. It pains me to have to talk to you about this. Last month, we were going to have you on to talk about a collaboration that you're doing with Sony Picture Studios, and we had to halt that because of the fires in Malibu. Thank goodness you survived that, and then this happened. So I know you're continuing to work,
Yes.
including on that project. And just thank you for taking a moment to even speak to us and explaining to people what this is like. If they want to participate to help, would be wonderful, because we all have a lot more clothes on our back than you have on yours at the moment. You know.
Yes, definitely. My work has been always a great source of courage and strength and energy, and I definitely keep on working. It's true, a month ago, I signed a partnership with Marvin Williams at Sony Studio, and it's been a little bit of a closing the circle, because actually this year Sony is celebrating the 100 years anniversary of Columbia Picture, which has been absorbed by Sony. And throughout the Sony lot, there are huge movie posters of Lawrence of Arabia, of Anthony Quinn, and the statuette of the Oscar that Anthony got for his work, and so much more. So to go back at Sony lot, it's fantastic. With Marvin Williams, we have a portfolio of films that we are in pre-production with and developing, and I certainly keep on working. As soon as I can, I will go back to the lot. Right now, PCH was closed. I think that today is opening again, and so I count on being more active. And I'm working actually next week for Netflix on a post-production. So it keeps me very strong to know that I have to dress up and do it in the morning, no matter the chaos that it's going on. It's for me a great cure throughout this very difficult journey.
Wow. Thank you so much, Valentina Castellani Quinn. May you have much success with your new venture with Sony. And may some of this begin to settle down for you, that you find a place to live that's more permanent until you're able to get back into Malibu, and feel that, you know, a little bit of semblance of security. I know it'll take time, but I also know that you will find your way and you will make do with what's best, and you will continue on. And what a great role model you are for your daughter, Sophia. That's really something. So, Valentina, thank you. You know, I love you so much. So thank you for taking this time.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you.
And everybody, you can find my interview with Valentina on all video and audio podcasts. podcasts. On YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on iHeartRadio, we're everywhere. Deborah Kobylt Live, but also our Little Italy podcast is a simulcast on both. So please look up my interview with Valentina Castellani Quinn and Deborah Kobylt Live. Reach out to Valentina. I'm sure she'd love to hear from you as well. Thanks, everybody, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.